everyone. This is Kelly Berger, and you are listening to the Kelly Berger Comedy Podcast. My name is Kelly Berger. I will be the main Kelly Berger of this podcast because I am Kelly Berger, and we are with my brother on tech support, Darren Berger.
Hello.
Yep, and we are on now currently on episode number 6, and our guest today is local St. Cloud comedian, podcaster, and best well known as the co-host of the Steel Tour Morning Show, Johnny Krutches.
Good afternoon. Hey, thanks for
Thanks for being here, Johnny.
It was my pleasure.
Yep. Well, I think the first obvious question to ask everyone about Johnny Krutches is like, so Johnny, how did you get crutched?
How did I get crutched?
That's my cool term for handicap.
It's an interesting one. I have multiple sclerosis. It's a neurological condition. It popped up about 20 years ago. So it's been a slow slog down since. But yeah, no, it's that's the gist. Multiple sclerosis.
It sounds like a disease that also has crutches since it took so long.
Yeah, it doesn't get anywhere very quickly.
Yep. So where did you come up with the name Johnny Krutches? Was just because you were holding crutches?
No, actually, the name Johnny Krutches isn't mine. That was actually invented by comedian Corey Adam. I don't like my last name. I don't like it, and for a variety of reasons, I don't really care to talk about. But at any rate, just in general, it doesn't work well as like a show name or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I just had everyone call me by my last initial, Johnny K, because otherwise it was just Johnny, and then people be like, Johnny who? And I'd be like, all right, so Johnny K, because otherwise people thought, what are you, Johnny Carson? And like, no, so just Johnny didn't work, so I went with Johnny K. When Corey first heard about me coming on to the Steel Toe show, he was like, Johnny K, what does the K stand for? Crutches? And it was hilarious. So I immediately changed my Facebook name to Johnny Krutches, and I started going, yeah, I said, my name's Johnny Krutches. I kind of leaned into it. He got a kick out of it. I thought it was funny, and it just kind of stuck. So it's been there forever. It's Corey's everlasting gift to me.
Yep, that's a very good comic book origin story.
Yeah.
Yep, I just get called Berger all the time because my last name is Berger.
Well, you know, we all get saddled with our monikers.
Yep, and actually my nickname during high school was Burger Time, which was sort of like a family nickname. Like I was called Burger Time, Darren before me was called Burger Time, and our other brother was called Burger Time afterwards.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, that's when you have a family name, it's going to carry over like that. That's the other reason that I embraced the Krutches thing, because then as a public persona name, it's not really a name. So someone else, else could be like, no, I'm Tiffany Krutches. I'm his sister. I'm like, that's not really how that works.
Yeah. Hopefully that name doesn't carry on with your family down the line.
I would really hate my daughter to become a Krutches. That would not be a thing. Like, mentally, I'm already worried, and then physically, I have to be concerned, just because I don't need her to join me on that thing. It's not awesome to see how able-bodied she is compared to me, but that doesn't mean I want her to lose those things.
Oh, does she help you a lot around the house?
No. She's very much a little kid, so she doesn't understand my stuff, nor do I need her to. But it's just so she gets up, she runs, she moves, and I'm just like, oh, you little bragging bastard. So, that's when I always have to be like, you know what? I got to keep my cane out and just get her once in a while. Like, remember, head on a swivel. Boom. There we go.
Yep. Come here.
So, yeah, but no, it's awesome. She gets around. I certainly hope she never joins me in the multiple sclerosis or just generally handicapped department.
Yep. Is that a genetic thing?
They don't know a lot about it, honestly.
Wow.
I don't have anyone in my family before me that has it that we know of, but my mom's adopted, so if she has any parents or grandparents, there's no way of knowing.
Who knew in the age of information there'd still be mysteries?
Well, you can find out who your family is with, 23andMe and like the Ancestry.com stuff, or you can, pay the city to release them birth records. Either way, all we found out from my mom with her doing the DNA test is that we are apparently 1.5% to 2% Japanese, and I've been watching a shit ton of anime trying to up those numbers for when I take the
Yep.
test. But we'll see. I need it to be higher because then if it is, I can literally call my mom and go, Mom, I'm turning Japanese. No, I swabbed my cheek. I'm turning Japanese. I really think so. It's happening.
Yeah. It would help you get your kid into Harvard.
There you go.
Mhm.
There we go. Now, actually, I feel like she should get in automatically because she has the "My Dad's a Cripple" story. Maybe does that count? Does she get to ride on that at all, or is it just the chair at the supermarket? Which ones
Sure,
does she get to?
sure. There's a scholarship for that. Like, hey, my parents are handicapped, or like, hey, I
Hey,
my
I
dad,
mean, I didn't
my
want to
dad's a
say
buggy.
anything about her mom, but how did you know? No, her mom's fine. It's yeah, I don't think I don't know. Like I know there's like, oh, this person's a Make-A-Wish case, but what if the Make-A-Wish case has a kid? Does that make her by default a Make-A-Wish kid? I don't understand how that works.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, Johnny, we knew each other for quite a long time. Like, we first met in the St. Cloud comedy scene at the Keller Bar.
yeah.
Yep.
I'm actually trying to get back to that hopefully pretty soon here and start
Yep.
popping in once in a while.
Is that still like the main comedy spot in St. Cloud at the moment?
Yeah, Jonah Maddox does a good job running a couple of things. Well, I think Doima's actually doing a lot of the running it for the because Jonah's got a couple of irons
Mhm.
of fire. But yeah, Jonah does a weekly Jonah's company Combats Creations does a weekly showcase over at Silly Beaver or over at Beaver Island Brewing called the Silly Beaver Comedy Show. But other than that, for just like comedy shows that you can just go to or be in to get practice and time or just to see upcoming comedians, it's really kind of become Doima's thing on Wednesdays is kind of the big one.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
it's
I
that
remember.
or doing like mics in the cities, and I don't travel well.
Yep. I remember like back a couple years when I was in Minneapolis, like the Kettle Bar was part of my weekly thing. Like, I got called a triple run. I
Yeah.
would do two open mics up in down in Minneapolis, and drive all the way up to St. Cloud, do the mic up at Keller, and then drive back to Minneapolis.
Oh, I've never done the runs that way. I've gone out to like the Twin Cities mics. I had done like the Tuesday night ones, and I think I did like the
Mhm.
Minnesota was Monday Terminal Bar. Fuck, I don't
Uh,
remember.
Thursday was Terminal Bars.
Thursday was Terminal Bar. There we go.
See, back. I know, like Tuesdays, Acme moved to Tuesdays during the pandemic.
I've never done Acme. I've always because I'm always worried about because I know they're very strict on time.
Mhm.
So I wanted to do that when they were strict on time. But then other than that, I just haven't gotten over there to do it. And now I'm just in the position I'm in. I'm like, with all my physical stuff, I'm just like, is it worth all the work? I'll just uh I'll just go there. I'm not doing as many comedy shows, and when I do, they're kind of like, ones that I'm baked into. So I go to the Keller to work on material, and then other than that, I save all my energy just for getting to and doing the actual shows.
Mhm. I've noticed like a lot of Twin Cities comics are going up to Keller these days. Have you been able to run to many of them?
I haven't run into a lot of people because, like I said, I haven't been to the Keller
Mhm.
recently. I saw Doima on December 31st, and he runs obviously the
Yep.
Keller Bar Mike, and he was talking to me about how accessible it is for people like myself. So as long as the weather's permitting, I'm hopefully going to start making it more of a weekly appearance, or at least a
Yeah.
quasi weekly appearance, because yeah, I kind of want to get out more and do stuff more there. And I ran into a couple of a comedian, God, Paul, I can't remember his name now. I am such a horrible person. Who was at the mic on the 31st. I'm pretty sure he's been hitting the Keller a couple of times too, because usually that's how Jonah finds new people for this stuff. So it's just
Mhm.
I gotta see the new crop. Apparently some interesting new faces performing.
Yeah. Like, you never know who you're going to see at the Keller Bar. Like, and also like in for central Minnesota, like St. Cloud's like the area to go to if you want to start comedy.
Yeah, it's a great place to start with the Keller Bar being a completely open mic thing
Hmm.
that's always welcoming to new people. It's a great place to start because you can again give it a try. And if it's going well, like I said, there's a bunch of really not well known people, but people that know well where to go, what to do. Like there's well informed people. You can ask and it's very, very, very friendly. I've never known anyone in the comedy scene. It's like, I ain't gonna tell you shit. Most people, like the first people I talked to, what was it? When I got into comedy in general, it was because of Adrian Washington. I had stopped doing comedy in 2003, I think, or 2004. I'd been doing open mics and stuff. Nothing, never been booked. I was on a cancer telethon, and I did jokes about being at a funeral in a cancer telethon without until much later realizing how bad of an idea that is. Maybe not talk, because like I did jokes at a cancer telethon about and there's a much better bit about this that's done by Jerry Seinfeld, but about there was a study that had come out at the time about if you would rather do public speaking or what were not or what was it? It was people's fears.
Yep.
Number one was public speaking. Number two was death.
Yep.
And so again, so I was
Did
doing
you do the Seinfeld joke of that?
yeah, it kind of was the same thing. And so I feel like God punished me for that. He's like, you need something to talk about. Boom. But yeah, so I did that at the Eagles Cancer Telethon. And the reason that happened, I had better bits and stuff, but I don't know if you've ever done a telethon before.
Yep. And I've heard plenty of horror stories about comedians doing corporate events.
Oh, I did quasi corporate event. Jonah had me do a tattoo show. It was fun but weird.
Did you go there and leave your mark?
At the corporate event, at the tattoo show? No, dude, I wanted to get a tattoo. That was my whole thing. Like, I was like, I want a tattoo. I want a tattoo. I had the design and everything, and I tried to get somebody to do it, and it didn't happen. Just couldn't work it out. It just wouldn't go the right way with timing and things like that. But the thing with the tattoo convention, the weird part about that is, and it's actually vaguely similar to the telethon, and I'll get back to that story in a minute. The tattoo convention, you're on this big stage, you're speaking out to a group of people, but 90% of those people, two fucks about what you're doing. They want to pay attention to what they're doing. And or they're either doing tattoos, getting tattoos, whatever, or trying to sell shit.
There were people in the audience getting tattoos while you were on stage?
Yeah. we were in all right, so this thing was awesome. I don't know why they booked Jonah, and Jonah brought out me and a bunch of great comedians, and I can't remember all their names, so I just won't name them at the moment. But so yeah, we went out to this tattoo convention. It was in St. Cloud, and so we're in a big like convention kind of thing. There are booths set up for all of the different tattoo artists, and they're pretty much down the center of the room and back to back. So there's one here, there's one there, and there's a divider between them. And so on either side, people are getting inked at the time that you're doing a comedy show, which made it very funny for us as comedians, because we're like, if we're really funny, we could fuck up someone's artwork. Like, that's the worst part. Like, and do you take that as a sign of pride or not? Like, I'm like, do we want to do this or not? Because you could fuck up the artwork by one of two ways. You make the person laugh too hard, or you make the artist laugh too hard. Either way, that doodle just got screwed up, and you can't erase that shit just like that. It's like, oh no, this suddenly turned from a portrait of your dad into Bart Simpson. I'm so sorry. So it's just, so that's one of the weirder parts about it. The weirdest is that, like, we were in front of a slew of tables for people to wait while they're getting their tattoos, and they face the stage, but they're mostly empty. So you're performing to what looks like an empty room of tables, like a poker convention just got out. And then all of those people are walking between the booths. There's a lot of general audience ambience noise in the background, even though they have you on a PA, even though they're pumping you out. And again, this is all great. People are enjoying your comedy, but it's one of these things where you get no reaction almost the whole time.
So you can't see a face. It's just tramp stamps.
Yeah, no, you can't. What was it? Doima went down, because he was at this. He went down and started actually doing comedy at the booths. He's like, I'm going to do the comedy right at the booths. I'm going to do these right up front. And he actually told a comedian, he's like, my goal is to make someone laugh and ruin, a priceless piece of artwork. And he came near one comedian, and I don't know if he was being funny at the time or not, but the comedian looked at him, and I forget what he was doing or saying, and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna stop that bit right there because that person looks like they're gonna stab me. And I don't think he said stab me. I'm probably misquoting. But either way, he implied that it wouldn't go well, and it was hilarious. The whole thing was great. It was just, like I said, it's the worst audience reaction ever, because I had a couple people there that wanted to see me, so they were there laughing and supporting me, and then everyone else was just, kind of there. So it's one of those things where I get off the stage feeling like, wow, I really sucked. Like, nobody really reacted. Not a lot of people knew anything. And then I go to these individual booths and stuff after, and they're just like, oh, man, you were the guy that was on stage. That one bit you did was hilarious. I was laughing so hard. And I was like, I couldn't even hear that.
Yep.
I didn't know. I mean, a lot of people are like, man, you're really effing funny. I love the way you just kind of laugh off your condition. I'm like, thank you very much. I was like, I kind of thought everyone was bored with what I said. No, we were all laughing hysterically back here. I'm like, great. Didn't know. Did not know.
Yeah, it's great when that happens, when you're out of range of hearing laughter and that throws off your set.
Yeah, it throws off your set. And then, like I said, one of the weirdest parts is when you get off thinking you did, like, a bad or uninteresting set, and then everybody's telling you how hilarious you were. And I'm like, were we in the same room? Were we? I don't even. And the worst part is I recorded this. I don't think I have the recording on me at the moment, but I recorded this and I went and played it back. And even from the camera's perspective, no, it looks like nobody gives two shits. I'm not like, nope. I was in that room. You guys are the ones imagining it. So now I feel like the lady that was on the airplane. I'm just like, you can all laugh at this if you want to, but this fucking comedy show is not real. And so I was losing my mind on it. It was it was a horrible way to get off the stage to feel, and then get like confronted with great job. And I'm like, that's not how I normally feel after a great set. Just saying.
Yeah, this is also why a lot of comedians like put their videos out so rarely, because it's really hard to document like what happened in the room.
Yeah, I have one, and I don't share it because I do one joke that I'm not proud of myself for. I do it in the moment, and it's an off-color joke, and it's one of those where even right after I make it, I'm like, it was a stupid joke, and I shouldn't have done it, and that's dumb. So I don't like pump that video out or whatever. But it's one where I went with Jonah to Goonies, and so we're performing at Goonies Comedy Club, and it takes a fucking shit ton of effort for me to get on stage. And they had a ramp there for another comedian who has like a powered wheelchair to get on stage. And they told everyone, do not use the ramp. The ramp isn't for you. Do not use the ramp, blah, blah, blah. So as I got to the stage, I'm making jokes about how long it takes to get there. I'm like, they gave me 15 minutes. I'm going to burn 7 of them getting to the stage. And then everyone's laughing at that. I stand on the stage. I look at the ramp, and they specifically said not to use the ramp, but I am tempted. And so then I hobble up on with my cane, and we do the whole thing. And the audience starts laughing really, really hard at my MS bit that I do, and I'm having a great time with all of that. And there's literally a point where people are laughing. The camera angle that Jonah has is my phone, but it's from the table's point of view, so you can see through the audience. And because of the person they had guest hosting at that particular time, I think it was D'Angelo Funches. And
right. I've never met him, but I've heard of him.
Yeah. So he was hosting, and he had a huge group of supporters of his out, and they were all front and center. And so they were laughing hysterically, and they were all like losing their shit, like moving physically, and you can see all of that. So you can literally see the audience like just violently shaking and laughing. There was one guy right in front of the camera who was wearing a light pink baseball cap and like sweater, and he was one of those people who can't laugh without like leaning back and then slapping his knee. Ooh. Like someone was like, if this guy has too much of a good time and the waitress comes in at the wrong moment, he's gonna
get smacked.
Yeah, she's gonna get smacked because he'd be like, "Oh damn," and be like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry." And it's like, yeah, no. So like that's one of those where it's like you have to be careful. You're like, I have a remarkable job here. I have to get this timing right, or that poor lady is gonna get it in the face.
This sounds like the rare type of time where a comedy can actually get somebody hurt with their joke.
Yeah, this is
we hear all the time saying like, "Oh, we need comedy can kill," and then now here's the actual thing. It's because of one guy who can't control his laughter movements.
You killed out there. No, he killed. I'm an accomplice, but not willingly. All right, I did not mean for that to happen. So yeah, it was a great thing. He filmed it, and the funny part is the audience is laughing hysterically, and at one point Jonah looks over at his I believe either wife or they're engaged, and he looks over at Amanda and he just goes, he is fucking killing it right now. And you can hear him kind of whispering it to her, but it's in the background. So for him to say it and the whole audience losing it, that's one of those videos where no matter how bad you feel when you've had a bad set or whatever, like I was like, and play the happy place video. The one night that it all went well.
Yep. Well, Johnny, I think we'll talk about what you're best known for is as the co-host of the Steel Toe Morning Show. How did you get started on Steel Toe?
Says, oh yeah, that actually goes back to the Adrian Washington story. We can get to that. But yeah, so we can cover maybe the other one another time, the whole telethon thing, the first performance thing. But yeah, so I had been medically hospitalized several times with multiple sclerosis. I'd gone up and down. I got into a very depressed point, and I was on a mental lockdown for like a week and a half or week. I don't remember. It's been a couple of years. I think it was a week or less than a week, 3 to 5 days. I think somewhere in there. And so I was in a psych ward, the whole deal. When I got out, they had me go to an outpatient program. And so while I was at the outpatient program and getting mental health counseling, they talked about things that, what are things that problems you have, what are you depressed for? How'd you get here? So I told them one thing that would help with my depression. I wish I could get back to doing comedy. It was something I loved to do. It was always the original plan to do comedy, to be a comedian. 2004, when I was first diagnosed, was a transitional point in my life when I was preparing to go to either the East Coast or the West Coast. Before then, I had only done like I don't know if you know about the name of the Knuckles Comedy Club in the Mall of America, way back in the day.
Oh, way before House of Comedy came in.
And so I'd done that a couple times, like open mics and things like that. And I got into the Eagles Cancer Telethon in Rochester at KTTC. My brother worked at KTTC, and so he knew when the auditions were. I auditioned. It's very easy to get in on it, to do it, and they never have anyone auditioning to do comedy, so I kind of had a link in for that. And anyways, that's a whole nother bag of worms. I don't want to take up too much time on that. So yeah, so I had stopped doing comedy because in 2004 I got diagnosed with MS. It was effing up my life. I was kind of going downhill. I'd went through a lot of shit. So fast forward to 2018, where we're really messed up and all of that stuff. It's September, near the end of September of 2018, and I get out. I meet these outpatient people, and one of them says, "Hey, I know I can get in touch with Adrian Washington and talk to him, and maybe meeting him would help you." And so Adrian Washington came down to the medical facility, the outpatient facility. I met him on a lunch. I met him during the lunch break at the facility in one of my outpatient days. And so I sat down and we started talking, and he was asking me about comedy. I explained to him my story that I kind of told you about there with the first comedy thing and stuff like that. I told him about the MS stuff and what I've been dealing with that. And then, I was trying to figure out, I told him, he's like, so they say, doing comedy is really something that would help you. I was like, yeah, but I just don't know how I could go about doing it. And then he finally, he's like, well, I have a show coming up in it was a week or 2 weeks. He's like, you want to do a guest spot? He's like, I'll give you 5 minutes. And I was like, dude, if you will give me 5 minutes, I will fuck up those 5 minutes. That's literally what I said to him. I looked him straight in the face. I'm like, and I'd made him laugh a couple of times with stuff I was talking about. And I was just like, yeah, if you'll give me 5 minutes, I will fuck up those 5 minutes. And he started laughing and he goes, that's the right attitude to have. And he's like, you got 5 minutes, buddy. And I was like, awesome. And then after that, he was like, I also got a thing on Saturday. I did those 5 minutes and I have that recorded too. And that's one of the things where when I watch those 5 minutes, and even my friends that watch it kind of say the same thing, where it's it starts off kind of rough, kind of awkward. And there's this little middle point, the audience is being super sympathetic to me because of my condition. I kind of get a pass there. But there's a point where my buddy Brad phrases it really well. He's like, you can almost see the rust fall off, and you just kind of slip in and start going. I was like, yeah, there is kind of that moment. So the set ended really, really well. It started out a little rough, ended really well. And when it ended, Adrian's like, hey, I got a thing with the Steel Toe show this Saturday. You want to do a guest set there? So I went to do a guest set there, and I had heard the Steel Toe show through my then wife, who listened to them every morning. I had heard them from time to time when I was in the car, but at this point I wasn't driving. I wasn't leaving the house very much. So only times that I actively listened to the radio was when I was helping her with it, which a lot of times were for these like audio call-in shows that Steel Toe doesn't do. So I didn't listen to Steel Toe a whole bunch. I'd heard it a little bit, but everything I had heard was truly hilarious. I literally, and I don't want to get too gross, but I literally almost like wet myself laughing the first time I heard about the Nurembergers bit they did on the radio, where they talked about a. Do you not know the Nurembergers bit?
No, I do not.
We'll talk about that in just a second.
Steel Toe used to be a radio station before going to full-on podcasts.
Yeah, and that's where I got involved in, was the radio stuff. So Adrian had the show with Steel Toe. I go in to do 5 minutes there. I also have this one recorded. This is also another. That one went well. That was 5 minutes that I laid the room out. That was 5 minutes where I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. This was so well. So that 5 minutes gets done, and Aaron gets up on stage and just goes, Adrian said he was bringing a friend to perform. He didn't say it was an actual effing comedian. This isn't fair. And everyone starts laughing. He's like, I got to follow this. And so then after that, I told Adrian that I had broadcast training, because in community college, high school, and post community college stuff, I'd done radio and television broadcast training, so I had experience with those.
What kind of radio and television shows did you do? Was it just like talk radio?
No, well, like, so I'm saying I went to like community colleges where they had radio broadcast training. Okay. And in high school it was called television production. We did the local daily news thing Monday through Friday. They'd have a special segment on Friday for the Friday birthdays, because normally during the day they'd read everyone's birthdays. Like today's birthdays, they'd go through the list. Well, a group before us started a thing with the Friday birthdays, and they started making kind of video skits of the Friday birthdays. It became this tradition that each group started making the Friday birthdays a thing. How do they do the Friday birthdays, whatever. So
was the video like tailored to like whose birthday was? Like, hey, it's Steve's birthdays. Here's a video of Steve being all crazy, or was it just?
Well, it was a public school, so it was like several people's birthdays. Yeah. But yeah, no. So it would just be like they do one of the ones that our group did that we actually got in trouble for. They did a knockoff of Gone in 60 Seconds. I don't mean to date when I graduated, but it was 2001. All right, suck it. So the Gone in 60 Seconds knockoff, the reason I wasn't part of this. The reason they got in trouble for it, Ryan Underbaki and Brian, God, I can't remember Brian's name. Anyhow, so the reason they got in trouble for it was, if you remember the movie Gone in 60 Seconds, there's
they had to steal like a whole bunch of cars out of a parking lot within like a certain time frame.
Yeah. So the movie hinges on the car, which is a Shelby Mustang. Well, for the particular purpose of this spoof video, it was Brian's Buick LeSabre. It was like this big four-door white just box of a car. It did have power and stuff, but anyway, so they did a lot of questionable driving with that car, and all of this on film, by the way.
In the school parking lot?
In parking lots and just various areas around Rochester, Minnesota. Ooh. And again, like I said, this is before the age of the phones and the TikTok. Documented all of this on film. Literally on a VHS like camcorder. And for one of the really like dramatic like chase scene shots, they actually drove with a door open, hanging the camera out the car so you can get like the view of the undercarriage and the tire like spinning and stuff and all of that stuff. And the problem is when you see the footage, you're like, wow, that's amazing. That's like almost like watching the movie. That's cool. When you're the teacher or the person in the like running the class who knows, no, I know what equipment you had, and I know the only way you pulled that off, and one of you could have fucking died at the very worst. At the very least, if it goes bad, you break the camera, and we can't get more of those. They're old and they're already fragile. So it was just this kind of thing where like you can't call the kids out on it, but you're like, that was no, that's no. And then at the other part of it's like, yeah, here's 5 minutes of us doing donuts in the Target parking lot. Like, we can't. And again, you filmed it,
Mm-hmm.
but you
As you can
can't say
see,
that today.
as you can see, Honor, it was very illegal, but also very rad.
It was very, very illegal. But we'll be honest, audience thought it was great. Audience liked it. So again, who are you going to blame? But that was just that one. So yeah, the birthdays thing was a fun thing. I did those classes. So I went to Aaron with like, hey, I've got this television stuff, and then I did some stuff at KVSC, training and stuff there. So I'm like, I've kind of, I've done radio stuff. So I did that as like kind of my in, and then later I wrote him a personal letter. He had me come on to talk about my MS and stuff when somebody they wanted to be on the show couldn't make it. And it kind of grew from there. I became the fill-in guy. And then one of the guys that I fill in for from time to time suddenly had to kind of bow out for a while because he's an audio DJ and he does like professional bands and things like that. So he's a sound man for that stuff. So they called him out for like a whole summer. He's like, I'm booked like wall to wall all summer. So I ended up filling in over the summer. And by the end of the summer, it came to the point where Aaron's like, Johnny's done such an awesome job all summer on this show. We're not going to just kick him back to the bench if somebody like if Muskie Pete wants to come back, we'll bring him back, but I don't know, we'll figure something out. We'll worry about that when we cross it. But as of now, Johnny's an official like steel toe second mic, and it grew from there, including to when we got canceled from the radio.
Oh, yep.
And went on to the internet. And
Do you want to talk about how that happened?
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
So I wasn't on there was a series of shows involved with this. I may have been involved in one of them. I can't be sure. Unfortunately, we don't have the recordings of that because the studio had those and they got rid of them. But yeah, so my buddy Aaron, the host of the Steel Toe Morning Show, on YouTube, Twitch, and nope, not on Twitch. That's right, YouTube and Rumble. Steel Toe Morning Show on YouTube and Rumble. He was making fun of a radio station. The reason was we'd been trying to get syndicated for a long time. Our station manager didn't want to do it or was being lazy, whichever you want to take. So we went around it by applying to stations saying, looking for personalities for a morning show. And Aaron would apply the Steel Toe Morning Show. We applied to one in Iowa, and they never even like sent a thank you for your application or whatever letter. They just never responded. Then they made a big thing, and I don't know how Aaron saw this. They made a big thing about their new show that they were debuting. So we tuned into it live on the air, and it's this what was it? Fish and Heather in the morning. So we listened to Fish and Heather, and Aaron starts losing his shit. He's like, I can't believe it. They put this trash on there instead of me. And it's all overacting. It's all fucking theater shit. It's morning.
Yep, it's radio WWE.
Yeah, it's radio W. Very, very good description. Very good. That's nicely put. So yeah, it's radio WWE, and he's selling it. And we did this stuff with lots of people, and it went one of two ways. It went you either went in with it and you played with us, or you didn't and we dropped it. She and he particularly she picked the first one. So we started having comments coming up on their Facebook thing for their stream, and we were talking about stuff. And so they realized it was us. And so she started making fun of us, calling us a podcast in our mother's basement. And at this point, ironically, she had no idea how accurate that prediction would become. Well, not mother's basement. It's Aaron's basement. He has whatever. Point is, she kind of nailed it eventually. But so she called us that, and we were laughing. We thought we have a back and forth. So we're making fun of her, expecting her to make fun of us and things like that. Aaron does a few jokes, laughing, saying that she shouldn't be on the air because she's a woman and all this other stuff. And then he starts going he's like, right on her Facebook that she uses the N-word in her private time and all this other stuff. And at any rate, like I said, it's this very fun back and forth thing. We're having fun with it. And we think it's, a little radio war,
It's a little back and forth.
Right. Heather gets a friend of hers because she moved from Seattle. So she gets a friend of hers who's like an activist on TikTok or some shit, and they put together a copy pasta clip pasta, not copy pasta, a clip pasta version of like the segments, condensing all of the shit down it just being him being like, and she's a woman and she's on the radio and you should tell people that she uses the N-word in her spare time and we will not allow this and all this other stuff. And again, even if you look at that, like you see his overreaction, if you watch the actual video, he's so over the top and emoting it and stuff that most sane people that look at it go, oh, he's just overreacting. But she fed this out to her audience as this this white male is a misogynist and blah blah blah, and we need to stop him. And so the radio station and some of the advertisers literally got like internet fucking trolls from other parts of the country coming after them. One or two decided to not sponsor the show anymore. The radio station got particularly upset about it, and this wasn't the first dust up the station had with either Aaron or Aaron having dust up with other people and it causing drama. So as a result of that, she kind of, like I said, she kind of predicted it because they told Aaron, look, you can come back. They put him on leave for like a week. And they said, look, you can come back, but in order to come back, we need your Facebook. At that time, we had started simulcasting on Twitch. Like, we need your Facebook, we need your Twitch, we need like your YouTube, your socials, all of that. We need the keys to the kingdom for everything to do with the show. And then you can come back on the air. Unbeknownst to them, Aaron had filed for the copyright for the Steel Toe show because the boss I was talking about at the time, the station manager or whatever you want to call him there, he kept saying, oh, I have the copyright to the show. We own the show. And we checked that, and like many things he said, that turned out, no, that wasn't true. He did not actually do any of that. So Aaron filed for the copyright and then just waited, and it passed, and then he had it. And he held on to it for like, I think almost a year. And so then they're like, hey, give us all of your stuff and then we'll let you back on the air. He goes, I'd rather just take the show and do it myself. I own the Steel Toe copyright. So I'll take the Steel Toe show. I'll take my my socials and all those, and we'll take it and just do it ourselves online. So then we this was around Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
We crashed, like slapdashed immediately, like over a course of a day or two, slapped the show straight into Twitch, doing it live, I think, for the first week or two from Matt's garage.
Who's Matt?
A person, if you know the show, Matt Poser, an occasional second mic and a podcaster of his own. But yeah, so we're doing it from a podcaster's garage where he continually lights off fireworks and various other things. And it was a very interesting show, both to do and interesting location to do a show from. And so we did that, and then it grew into just Aaron out of his house. And now it's Aaron out of his house. I usually go in, but if I have trouble going in, I do it from my own setup. I've ended up kind of going into podcasting and stuff, and now I do an afternoon show. So I'm Monday through Friday from like 2 to 5, unless we hit our goals, we go to 5:30. So like I do that. We cover some of the same stuff, but it's mostly like just have fun, goof around, watch video clips, all that kind of shit. And it's just one of those things where that all happened because that stuff fell apart. But yeah, we started on the radio and now we're here.
Yeah. And Steel Toe has erupted over the past couple years.
Yeah.
Like you guys are talking with some big names out there like I didn't think St. Cloud could reach.
We actually have a global audience now. One of the things I love the most about the show being the way it is, and this is true even for mine, I've got viewers from I've got a couple from England. But we've got viewers that are in like I think we had somebody in Germany. I know there was a Spanish person at one point. We have obviously people from Canada and New Zealand, and just it's fun to see like the fact that now because it's not everybody's show, it's a niche show, and I get that. I don't ever think it'll be anything other than that, but it's a niche show. If you compare it to the world, that niche is still really big. There's still a lot of people all over the world who are like, this is my niche, like boom. So it's amazing to get to do that, to go from radio to that. There's a couple of more like egregious pitfalls. The funding thing is difficult. It's hard to, and for Aaron in particular, he does it as a fully a full-time employee for him and his wife. They run everything. Like I'm a contractor. They pay me whatever. And then like what I do with my show, I'm a one-person show, so that can go a lot better for me because I can run on a much smaller budget. But you can't do that with say Aaron's kind of thing. So they really they have to go through a lot to make it happen. It's
Mhm.
just it's crazy.
You guys are running up next to some big names like Aaron, like with Anthony Acumia and Chrissy Mayer.
Yeah. Aaron is a Anthony and Opie fan, like a big time
Mhm.
Anthony and Opie fan. They're huge influences of him and or influences for him. Ugh. And they're huge influences for him, and it was very great for him to kind of get to meet and interact with both of them in one way or another, and then to go full circle and become friends with Gino and Chrissy and them, and just to
Mhm.
do all that. That's really really cool. I'm very very happy for him. We don't really shy away from anything ever. That's kind
Yep.
of like how we got kicked off the radio in the first place. But it is, like I said, it is weird the internet beefs we've had, the way they've gone, and how it's taken the show into like its own, like I said, its own kind of little weird stratosphere. So,
Yep.
and Aaron keeps promising this year is going to be bigger than ever. So we'll see what happens. Who knows?
Well,
What
you
he'll do.
guys evolved well enough to get on Red Bar's radar.
Um, yeah, I again, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But we were on Red Bar's radar for a minute. Like he
Mhm.
made his jokes about us, and that's the fun thing about the show. Like that's one of the reasons I love being on it. Like we don't ever like make like people make jokes about us like clutch our pearls. Like no, like you can
Mhm.
call me a cripple. I'll be like yeah, duh. And
Well, it
then
seems like Red Bar is the kind of guy he goes after like comedians like people love. So he's sort of like the like many other people in the podcast community, sort of like the vulture who sort of feeds off other people's success and sort of like tries to. I think his whole angle is like saying, "Oh, you love this guy? Well, here's his dark side." He's like
I
a
think
comedy Jameson.
well I've heard again I've heard interesting stories, and so we'll leave that at that. But in
Yeah.
terms of what he does for those for his views in his show, like they make fun of the people they make fun of. They do the things they do. It's one of these things where I always say to people, I think I even said this on a podcast they had me on last Friday as a guest, the Backyard Boys podcast. Check them out on YouTube. I was on theirs and people were flipping out and stuff. I'm like, we're all nobodies. Nobody
Mhm.
knows. 99% of the people don't know who the Red Bar is. Like Anthony and Opie, like those are names people know. You say
Yep.
those names, people will know those names. And now Anthony Cumia's stuff, that's a thing where even just going from Anthony and Opie, you horrible. Anthony and Opie to like Anthony Cumia's network, you again you lose people like, oh, I thought he was just done. Like no, guy's been going strong,
Mhm.
actually set up kind of the model for running an independent like net show and
Yep. The
things that a lot of people have modeled after.
trying to remember his compound media.
Yep, compoundmedia.com. I'm a subscriber. There's lots of great shows on there.
Mhm.
Anthony Cumia does his show, of course. And then there's also Gino Bisconte doing In Hot Water, and Chrissy Mayer does The Wet Spot. And so just a lot of great content on there.
Yep. Were you on the same comedy show when Christina Mara came up to St. Cloud?
Unfortunately, she had a family emergency, so she had to back out of that show. I was there. That was a fun show because that was one where I think it was the night before showtime. But yes, it was the night before the comedy show at 11:30 p.m. Which again, for a comedian, that's not like, oh, I was in bed and they called me. No, like I got a text at 11:30 p.m. and yeah, I ain't asleep. But the text was literally Aaron being like, so we got a lot going on. Instead of that 5 minutes that we're gonna have you do, 25 sound good? Question mark, pay raise? Question mark. And I'm like, yeah. And so we worked out the details and I did it. But the thing was, is like literally night before the show, I'm like, 5 minutes, I'll do some jokes people have never heard that I've been working on at the Keller or wherever, like some
Mhm.
topical stuff. 25 minutes is like, all right, so now I got to pull into the fucking war chest and be like, and this is the thing with, I love the Steel Toe audience. They are great. But when you perform for an internet audience that you then go and do live shows for, you can't bring the same jokes out all the time. And if you do shows for these people time and time again, even
Mhm.
though they're not all the same people every time, you are still going to have kind of thing where like, well, if I do this routine, they'll be like, yeah, I've heard that one before, numbnuts. So it's just, it was a really really weird like barrel to put in my mouth right before the show, but I did it. It was great. And then the thing that was really the linchpin of the whole show that made it work. There's a guy, I don't know if you know of him, Nick Rekieta. He does shows on. He's a podcaster. He's very big for the Johnny Depp trial. He's a law was a lawyer. I think he still has his law degree, but you don't lose those anyway. So he was a guest host on there. He's someone who knew who Chrissy knew, and so he was going to be, or not guest host. He was a guest like performer. He was only supposed to do like 5-10 minutes. He got on stage and got on a tear all his own and went off for like 30 minutes. And so we all just sat back and thought, fuck. Like, and I went up before him and I was like, shit, I could have just done the 5.
Yeah.
I could have just done the 5.
Did Nick have any jokes on the Johnny Depp trial?
No, he did not have any jokes on the Johnny Depp trial. He had several jokes I don't know if I should recite here, and we'll say for the reason of just not stealing another comedian's material. Sure,
yeah,
that's why. And then on top of that, he had a great joke when he went on stage, because there was me and another performer who had Lila Hart, who has some personal difficulties. We'll call them those that she overcome.
She's half-sized.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know how to say it politely. So
speaking of Lila Hart, I got to see her when I was in LA.
Nice.
Yep, it was sort of like just a hey, how you doing? Walk past open mic situation.
Cool. I got to meet her there. It was very, very fun. She tried to get me to give her my Twitter handle, and I'm a horrible piece of shit because I didn't. And it's not like I don't want to tweet with Lila Hart. It was literally, I don't fucking use Twitter. I still call it Twitter. You're like, well, it's X now. Screw that. It's Twitter. So I still haven't, like, that's another thing too. Somebody impersonated me on Twitter. Like, just Johnny or Just Kidding LLC on Twitter is not me. It's a fake account.
Did they go by the name of Johnny KKK?
No, I don't. I go by what is it? Johnny_JK, I think was because again, I made this back when Twitter started. Who knows how long ago? I still have to work on it. I might have changed it already, but if I haven't, if it's still the original one, my Twitter ID picture was just a picture of my fucking cat. Like, it was just it's not a thing. At any rate, so I don't use Twitter, and that was the thing. I didn't give her my Twitter handle, but the best part is she was wrapping up the show since Chrissy Mayer had to bail out. And I, like I said, got extended from 5 to 25 minutes, and I did a good performance. I got off stage. Nick Rekieta and he's funny, and he's like an online performer, but he's not a stand-up comedian. And as a lawyer, you have to have public speaking skills, but still, he gets on stage. And the balls of this man, he gets on stage and he goes, well, it's really great to be here, and now I know what it feels like to be at the at the American Idol contest and know that you're there for your talent, because everyone else has a really, really good story. And I was like, oh, you dick. And he got up and made a physical bit of how difficult it was for me to get on the stage. And it was just fun to see someone, like, I love to see someone who doesn't pull punches like that and just makes the joke outright. And so I was like, oh my God, especially a joke I've never heard before, because there's so many I have. So that was like, oh my God, that was great. And then he tied that in, and then he did his whole thing. Like I said, it was amazing. But when it got done, I was like, God, I really could have just coasted on my laurels and just, I could have hit those 5 minutes of gold. And instead of sprinkling in, 20 minutes of quasi old, quasi new, half untested cannon fodder, I was like, could have gone a lot better.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Johnny, is it true you also used to DJ at a strip club?
Yes, I did used to DJ at a strip club.
It's a good transition from one gig to another.
That was still that was because of the radio days. When we were on the radio, a strip club decided to become a sponsor of our show.
That's nice.
And so at one point, as a joke, because I'm technically I'm single, I guess is the easiest way to put that. As a joke, they're like, they should have Johnny come out and be a guest DJ. And I really love music. I dabble with it. I've kind of DJ'd before. in a small capacity. So I mentioned having done it before, and then so they brought me out. They showed me their setup. They had me DJ, and honestly, if you're not busy and you have the ability to do it, it's not a bad payday. So I was like, well, all right, this is all right. I'm not doing anything on the Friday nights that I'm working most of the time anyway, so it sounds good. So I did that for a little bit, and then after about almost a year, they ended up roping me into DJing one of the strippers' weddings. And
Ooh,
so,
did the
I
husband know?
yeah, I was DJing the wedding. The entire I knew the groom, I knew the bride. I'd known them both before this. I knew the entire bridal party, groom and bride side, having worked at the club. I've met or hung out with most of them before, and yeah, so they actually copied part of my DJ outfit that I have. I have like this steampunk jacket thing. They copied part of that for their bridal for their wedding. They went with the same jacket that I have. I showed them the one I had and I would be wearing for the wedding, and they're like, "Where did you get it?" I told them, and they literally into their costumes. They did a freak show theme. It was honestly, it was one of the most fun parties I've ever done.
Nice.
Because again, the entire bridal party are strippers. The groom's party is a biker gang,
Ooh,
and it's a freak show themed wedding. You
nice.
literally, like, it kept being one of these things where if you can't be at this if you are someone who is in AA, or because this is one of these things where as this night gets going, you are drinking. They're like, no, no, man. They're like, if you don't drink, like, here's a shot, do a shot. And like, the party gets crazy. The outfits were crazy. The women were incredibly gorgeous. The dudes were all awesome, and they all came in on their Harleys. So like, when the groomsmen and the grooms, like, it's this weird, because there is no modern day like an in-road Camelot's Knights. But I mean, if there was one, like a buttload of dudes on their Harleys kind of pulls it off, just you hear them rattling down the road, and they just kind of all came in. And again, it's a biker gang, so they have like I don't know how many people watch things like Sons of Anarchy, but one thing that's very true about the biker gang is like the fucking what's the appropriate term for them? The pledges or whatever, the people trying to join the gang. Like, they had this one dude, and like, it was just, yes sir, right away sir. They ordered him to do all sorts of crazy shit. They rolled their bikes into this place. The ground was too soft. They had him outside for I think I think a good 10 to 15 minutes, crushing pop cans and making like makeshift kickstand like props so the bikes wouldn't fall over. Like, everybody else is going and having a good time, and he's doing all this shit. There's people that are getting me drinks and getting me food and stuff because of my legs. In between doing music, I'm out front smoking my vape with them and making jokes and stuff, and we're talking about crazy things. And again,
Feel sorry for that guy, because
that
people ask
guy's
him.
working the whole time, and they don't even say thank you. They just tell him like, no, it's expected that you're doing this. Go fucking do it. And it's just like,
Talk to this
holy
guy.
shit.
So, guy, tell us your story at the stripper wedding. Well, I was setting up these pop cans as a makeshift stand for motorbikes.
He missed, and again, the bridal party is strippers, and it's people are drinking. It's a great time. He's missing all of the fun, and not even a thank you. It's just rough.
Did the reception have a VIP room?
No, the reception did not have a VIP room. Oh, you're out of power. That's a sad panda. But yeah, no, the reception did not have a VIP room, mostly because the bride was getting married. The groomsmen and everything, like, if they had a VIP room for there, it'd get a little weird for the families. Like, the families would start getting awkward, maybe, I think. Particularly, like, because everybody knows, like, where these people work and what they do. But, I mean, if you bring that to the wedding, it might get awkward. The best part of the wedding, though, my favorite part of the wedding was I was right next to the photo booth. And because of that, I found out something I didn't know about the bridal party. And that was that the bride, I believe, had a father-in-law. I believe it's father-in-law, not her actual dad. But at either rate, her father-in-law or stepfather or whatever, he looked just like Donald Sutherland. Like,
Ooh.
like,
Awesome.
like exactly Exactly. So if you ever wanted to see, I have a picture of it. Fuck me, I'm gonna find it. I gotta see if I can pop this up. Let's. There
Oh,
we go.
did you post it on social media and just been like saying like, look who I met?
Yeah, dude, I've literally jokingly told people I met Donald Sutherland. Let's promo assets wouldn't be it. Captures is a good one to go with. Pictures. So saved pictures, I think it'd be in there. We'll see if we can find it. But yes, so I yep, because there's one of the ones from the wedding. So if I scroll around here, we'll hopefully find one of the other ones. So yeah, I met up. Here it is. Okay. So let's do this. I've got this set up so I will be able to pop it up on the screen for you momentarily. Here we go. Boop, boop, and boop. There we go.
Nice.
There's our boy.
It's the president of the Hunger Games.
Yeah, dude, like I said, freak show wedding. So they're all dressed like you know, like they're gonna be like, you know, fucking carnival barkers or whatever. That's the way he came dressed. I had to request a photo with him just because, again, the guy looked like Donald Sutherland. So I posted a picture like, I got to meet Donald Sutherland. People believed me. They're like, oh my God, that's awesome. Like, no, it's not really Donald Sutherland. He sounds nothing like him. And I talked to his wife, and she goes, yeah, it's happened before. And I'm just like, nice. Just occasionally, people are like, hey, man, can you do that part from the movie where they tap you on the shoulder and you go, and he's like, no, that's not him. It's not him.
He needs to start going and saying like, yeah, it'll be $5 for a picture.
Oh, dude, they did that for me just because that whole wedding thing for them, I really kind of did out of my pocket. Like, they paid not even the costs. Like, I was planning to do comedy shows. This was right before COVID happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of that equipment that I had for that wedding, I had also bought because I was planning to do a comedy show in fucking Bees on the River is the name of the restaurant. And so I was going to do that. My buddy Jonah had hooked me up with a friend of his who wanted to do a show thing. Matt Doima was going to be in it. We got the whole thing set up. We got shut down by COVID literally the week of the event. Yeah, the week of the event. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday when it was like, oh, by the way, Saturday ain't happening.
Oh.
I had to refund everybody's money, and yeah. But no, so I bought all of that equipment outright like then to do her wedding, laptop, speakers, the whole thing. I had lights that my buddy Matt, I mentioned earlier, he donated to me that I bought off of him later. And so I did that whole thing for her wedding, and yeah, my big reward was I got paid nicely for it, like what I agreed to get paid. But again, I spent a shit ton to do all of it. And yeah, I got my Donald Sutherland photo.
Nice. Good thing you got that out of the way before the pandemic and experienced a stripper wedding.
Yeah, dude. And then I got to experience being a strip club DJ during the pandemic. The stupidest thing ever.
Oh, what was that like? Did you see any? How do you run a strip club during COVID?
Well, if you might remember, especially right after the pandemic kicked off, they had very, very strict rules about covering your face. We all had to wear the face masks. They didn't change the rules about the full nudity thing. So Fat Jacks, I don't know if it's full nudity or at least like partial nudity at times or whatever. Maybe it depends on the performer. But one of the strippers had a beautiful saying about this. So she was dancing and stuff, and she had like I think like a rhinestone mask, and so she's entertaining the gentleman. And the gentleman said, he goes, I hope you're a beautiful lady under the mask. And she goes, yeah, the state will allow me to show you my butthole, but heaven forbid you see me smile. And it's like, dude, she was completely right. The stupidity of it. I mean, she's close enough to give him pink eye if she queefs, but instead we're like, nope, cover that face up. And I'm just like, so again, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that the face mask prevented the transmission of COVID. I'm just saying, are you safer if she coughs on you or if she farts on you when it comes to COVID transmission? Because both could technically happen on that stage. So, I mean, yeah. So that was really, really weird. We were, again, the ladies were allowed to show you everything, but they all had to keep the mask on.
Mm-hmm. And do they enforce social distancing at the strip club?
Yeah, they had to remove so the strippers are allowed to do the lap dances. but we had to remove the chairs because we don't want people getting lap dances too close to one another.
Mhm.
Because again, social distancing. But the 6-foot rule did not apply to the lady again jostling her hips on top of the dude in the sofa. It was just no, we don't want two sofas of hip jostling action happening within 6 feet. Again, the rules were so dumb when they got enforced to the point of a strip club where I'm like, do these mean anything? And now with the report of Fauci coming out going, yeah, the 6-foot distancing thing really kind of just came out of nowhere. There's no scientific, just kind of, we just kind of pulled it out of our ass. Like, yep, that's what it looked like when I saw it happen.
Yep. And also during COVID, were you able to make the trans? Was that when you started your Twitch channel, that one you're doing right now?
The Twitch channel I'm doing, yeah, I started that shortly after COVID. I think I've been doing the Twitch channel thing. The anniversary is in June. I want to say 3-4 years now. So coming up on 4. Yeah.
Yeah. 2020 was like the year that if you wanted to start a podcast or a Twitch channel, that was the year to do it.
I mean, honestly, what else could you fucking do? I mean,
Right.
and then the worst part is half the time you needed some of the stuff you have to do a podcast. You're like, all right, so we're doing video conferencing with everything, so we need you to have a webcam. And so, I mean, now everybody uses Zoom and various other crap. So yeah, getting set up for it was kind of a thing. But I had been doing podcasting before I even went to, before I even started doing stuff with the radio. The difference is the stuff I did beforehand wasn't really podcasting so much. I did video game stuff on like my Xbox and I posted it online. I did like a live playthrough on Twitch. And this was back in like 2012, 2013. I don't know. At any rate, it didn't really go anywhere or do anything. And it was all based off of me using an Xbox. I didn't even have a computer. So it kind of stopped. So when I went to go and do actual podcasting, I literally just like, all right, let's dust off the Twitch channel and actually just do it. We just upgraded our equipment. So we started out trying to do video games, which I like doing. I have a very, I like an interactive audience thing. If you watch my show, you get to do sound drops. You get to I keep the chat up on the screen. So we get to interact with all of that. And so the fun part with the video game is I used to do it out of an egg chair. So my sound is really isolated and like it's kind of so like I'd be playing horror games and stuff and people are doing like death screams and stuff and I'm just like, oh my God, it was horrible. But the audience that I have comes from Aaron, so it came down to like we either do the video game stuff and build an audience from the ground up and ditch everybody that's already here and helped us get to where we are currently, or we lose a few people that we have with the game stuff and focus way more on the news story stuff. And so I just kind of gravitated towards that, and I've been growing from there. So that's kind of how the show. That's why it's called, like a lot of people, why is it called the Game Over Podcast? I'm like, well, because I don't want to rename it at this point. Like, I already do the video game stuff, and now I'm just black-pilled about society. We're all going to die. Game over. There you go.
Nice. All right, one final question. I almost have to head out pretty soon. Which is more annoying, like comedy drama or podcast drama?
Honestly, actually, I have to say podcast drama.
Because it's more out in the open.
Well, podcast drama happens between people with overinflated egos, and again, a lot of it doesn't ever actually cross into the real world, but it can have real world consequences. Like podcast drama on the Steel Toe Show has led to Aaron and April getting swatted and having things like that happen. Because of podcast drama, I've had to start kind of distancing how much stuff I share about my daughter publicly and stuff, just because I have to make sure that she's kind of protected from that. And like comedy club drama is bullshit, but it doesn't it doesn't really get beyond the comedians. It doesn't get really beyond the club. You know, it doesn't really follow you to other places most of the time unless something truly horrendous happens.
Yeah,
And
most
so
of the people who watch comedy just sort of watch comedy and they think like, oh, all these great comedians get along just fine. Nope.
Yeah, no, like people come up after the show like, hey, man, you did great. That guy right before you did great. And the crossover joke you had was really funny. You guys must be great friends. You're not, no, he's a horrible piece of shit. And I hope he burns in a fire. Like, no, none of that ever happens. People generally just like, hey, you did cool, whatever. And so it's like I said, it's one of those things where you can deal with the club stuff a lot more like easier because it's a lot easier to just deal with someone face to face and just say, what's up? You know, like, and with the online stuff, like I said, people have overinflated egos, but then beyond that, the people that watch those people that are quasi invisible because they have, a handle and a faceless picture and all that stuff, they can again go to the lengths of, like I said, swatting and other things, which fortunately has never been a serious issue for like Aaron and April in the Steel Toe show. Like they had a swatting thing happen once and it was a scare for April, but nothing dangerous happened. But there's like people who can legit get hurt when police respond to a call and doing this stuff. And so it's that's the thing where, like I said, that's where the podcast drama takes, because it has a way more real. Nobody's ever gonna call the police on you because I called you a bitch, or hey, you stole my joke. Oh, you mean we both had a very, very vague premise that any asshole could come up with, and we had two entirely similar takes, but because I didn't run mine by you because I just met you tonight, I stole your joke. Like I know there was a comedian, a little I don't remember. I don't know if she was Vietnamese or Chinese. I can't remember. But she had a joke that was almost identical to one of mine. And I had done my joke before her before. But like Jonah was sitting there and he's like, dude, did she just copy your bit? And I'm like, no, my bit isn't that original. That's what I'm learning right now.
Was a joke about either both of you being crippled or Asian?
No, I don't think it was about being crippled or Asian. It was a very, again, this is where I'm saying it wasn't original. It was a very like, hey, here's an everyday take of an everyday thing, and someone kind of took it to the same. Oh, what I remember it. Christmas tree, using your grandmother at a Christmas as a holiday decoration at Christmas. We both had similar jokes about it, because I had made a joke about instead of murdering a tree every year, why don't we just start, why don't we just start using grandma? I mean, we just dig her up every year and put her up there. Then she gets to be the center of attention. It's what she always wanted. We had some similar jokes along those lines. I don't know if hers was exactly the same as mine or just really, really similar. But again, it was one of these things where it's like anyone could come up with that joke. It wasn't I didn't think like, oh, she stole my bit. That's just you being unoriginal. But there are so many people where it's like, I made a joke about this article I saw in the news, this headline. Oh, I'm funny. Another comedian does the same bit. Like, he stole my bit. No, you're both reading the same material, and it's just like, your bit's not that original.
The most famous example is as like when George W. Bush did the whole speech about building the wall for Mexico, and people kept saying like same thing, like, "Oh, who's going to build the wall?"
Yeah, it's one of those. And that's the thing where like hecklers or people's responses to jokes. Like people don't realize where it's like, I've got this really hot take about this joke you did. And it's like, and this is the 8th millionth time I've heard it. Like case in point, I forget the comedian's name. And if you remember it, by all means, remind me. But he recently had a Netflix special out and he got into some internet drama because a lady, a TikTok influencer, her son posted a video commenting on his comedy bit. Because he says some stuff that's misogynistic or edgy or whatever, and at one point he talks about a lady like saying if what was it if something about planets and Jupiter having a ring, and so her son, this little 10-year-old, gets on. He's like, it's not Jupiter with the rings, it's Saturn, and also you're really mean to ladies and all this other stupid stuff. And it seems
just a lady using her kid to fight her battles.
That's what it seems like. It seems like a lady.
Yep, I know the comedian you're talking about. It's Matt Rife.
Yeah. And so
super famous Matt Rife.
Again, he comes out having to point out that actually no, Jupiter does have rings. And so he comments on the sun, or Jupiter does have a ring or whatever. He comments on the sun not knowing stuff and various other things. And she's sitting there flipping out at him. But at the end of the day, the part that I said when I talked about this on my show, I was like, what the lady doesn't realize, Matt's probably been commented or stopped by some asshole who's like, your joke, sir, Jupiter does not have, and he's had to literally educate people who don't know that Jupiter has a ring, and he's doing it to explain his joke. And the reason why I think he flipped out on this kid is because whether he knows it or not, this kid became the fucking steam valve release point for every other asshole where he's like, dude, just laugh at the joke or don't. But I am tired of explaining to you guys, and the idea that you would do something on a Netflix special and throw that out there and not realize, like, it. So he's had to obviously defend his joke time and time again, and the lady using her kid as a prop was a thing. So yeah, it was just it was funny.
The thing that's making the internet tough with comedy is like stand-up comedy used to be sort of like a private event, like sort of like something you see in behind a dark alley. Like, this is what we say behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
And now with the internet, it's sort of like being spread to everywhere. Like, people are going to see that joke who wouldn't want to see that joke anyways.
Right. The big thing that on my show and Aaron's show that we talk about a lot when we deal with people is with people that are unhappy or outraged in the chat, like they're you suck and I ooh stupid take, and it's just like okay, like those are all completely valid criticisms. I am an idiot and I probably do indeed suck quite literally, but before we cover that. Why are you here then? Like, I mean, it's not like you don't have other options. I'm on YouTube. There's millions of options on YouTube. I'm on Rumble. Millions of options. Twitch. Millions of options. It's not like, oh, they strapped me in a chair, frickin' Clockwork Orange style. They put the drops in my eyes. You will now watch this incredibly stupid cripple talk about today's events with lukewarm takes and quasi-funny jokes. Like, nobody's making you do this. You're choosing to be angry. Why choose to be angry? And that's the part that it amuses me. There's whole channels dedicated to hating other shows. There's shows that are dedicated to hating on Steel Toe and Anthony Cumia and stuff like that. And I can get it, hating on them. But the idea of just
Sparks
living,
sort of like drive content and
yeah,
comedy and like art in general. It's just like I consider like going into like stand up or art is sort of like you're enlisted into the psychic branch of the military.
We are the men who stare at goats. Oh, nice. Yeah, it's really, really weird because, like I said, it's comedy, it's words. Something my parents always used to tell me that I'm very, very well aware of now is like words don't really hurt you. And at the end of the day, yeah, words don't hurt you. You have to choose to let them hurt you. Not to put too fine a point on it, cripple. I've been through enough where I'm like, dude, you can call me whatever you want. You can like people can say nice or mean things to me about my condition, like I'll pray for you, whatever. And what I've learned is good or bad overall for me, zero effect. If I choose to let it have an effect, yeah, then it can have that good or bad effect. But if I just choose to go, you know what, that's what you said, I'm moving on. That's literally all the effect it has. And then you move on with it. So that's where, like, again, with the Steel Toe show, I'm like, why choose to be angry? Or my show, why choose to be angry because you don't like what I think? By all means, F off and let me sit here in obscurity. Like, you're spending your time being angry and then watching shows where they actively hate on a person. Like, I get it. You don't like them. You think they suck. Why do you want to devote your time to being upset? What do you get out of it?
Yep. As you get older, you learn to focus more and more on what you can control. And
exactly.
Well, Johnny, I think that was a great point to end this segment on. It was nice having you. Thank you for taking your time to do this.
Oh, I was very glad to be here, Kelly. Thank you so much.
This is a great run. I have to head out pretty soon to do some comedy down here in Austin.
All right. Well, best of luck to you, man.
All right. Thank you for being on, Johnny.
Thanks for having me.
All right.